Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hope you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So the Mets played today. They lost actually, they lost to the Astros 7-4. The big takeaway from that game was the Mets starters are guys that could potentially start for the Mets. Tyler McGill, who's got a very good shot at making the team and being in the rotation. Went 4 innings, pitched really well. And of course, Max Kranich came in, he pitched a very effective inning. But the one thing that was noticeable in this game was that Jose Urena, who was not a starter, is going to be a reliever, pitched poorly. I mean, pitched really bad in the game. But the Mets lost 7-4. You know, the wins and losses don't really matter at this point of the season, obviously, and spring training. But what's interesting is that the Mets made some interesting moves this offseason. Obviously, they re-signed Sean Manaea, who's hurt right now. Why Tyler McGill's performance is so important. Also, Frankie Montas, who they signed to a 2-year deal, he's hurt. Now, what's interesting about his loss is that he pitched a lot of innings last year for the Brewers, and I guess for the Reds, and he's not going to be there. He pitched over 107 innings, even though the ERA was very high. The innings are important, and he was pitching for a team that went to postseason with the Brewers. But a move that the Mets made that they were very much criticized for, and that was signing Clay Holmes, the all-star reliever, to a contract, 3-year deal for $38 million. And they decided to put him in the rotation. They talked to him specifically to put him in the rotation because they believed that he could be a starter in the majors effectively. So far, so good. He has pitched really, really well for the Mets. In 9 2/3 innings and 3 starts, he has not given up a run. The only concerning thing about Holmes is that he walks a lot of batters. Over his career, he's walked 4 1/3 batters per 9 innings, which is a lot. That is a lot. So that is something that we have to sort of keep an eye on. And he's walked 4 batters so far in the spring over 9 2/3 innings, which is about 3.85, which is much better than his overall career, which has been as a as a reliever, excuse me. Now, in the minor leagues, I went over his numbers before, and in 114 games as a starter, with another 20 or 30 as a reliever in the minor leagues, he has thrown over 500 innings. So he has plenty of experience starting, but he's not started it since 2018. He's got 4 games as a starter in the majors, which was in 2018. All his time that he spent with the Yankees has been as a reliever. He is a guy that we're going to see how he handles every 5 days in the majors because he hasn't done it in a long time. And to be honest with you, when he was relieving for the Yankees, I used to make fun of him because he looked like a fish out of water. He looked very uncomfortable. I think he kind of let it be known that he didn't want to really re-sign with the Yankees as a reliever, that he wanted to go and be a starter. Now, the Mets sought him out, wanted to be as a starter. They wanted him as a starter. They talked to him as a starter, and so far so good. Knock on wood. Now, the belief is that he has ace-like stuff. Now, I need to see more of him as a starter. I know what kind of pitcher he is as a reliever. I've seen a lot of games that he pitched with the Yankees. But obviously, the manager believes in him because the manager, was a coach when he came over to the Yankees. He was a coach. He was the bench coach, so he knows this player really well. The Mets have had some very good results from former Yankees. Coming over here and playing well. Luis Severino is the best example. Severino pitched great and stayed healthy for the whole season last year. And, of course, he parlayed that into a 3-year deal with the homeless A's. I mean, in Sacramento, they don't even name themselves after a town. They call themselves the Athletics. That's it. But they're a homeless team, along with the Tampa Bay Rays. 2 homeless teams. But he got a big contract from them. Got a 3-year deal. I couldn't believe the money and the years that he got. And from the A's of all teams. But that was a good example of believing in Mendoza, having Mendoza be a part of the decision-making. So So obviously Clay Holmes was a big part of that, having watched him develop as a reliever, because he basically became a reliever under the in the years that he was with the Yankees, because he was a reliever with the Pirates and it didn't really work out, and the Yankees brought him in, I guess, in the middle of 21, and he pitched so poorly with the Pirates as a reliever, and they put him in the bullpen with the Yankees. He pitched really well. Now he's got a lot of saves in the majors. He's got 75 saves in the major leagues for what he had from the Yankees. It's pretty good. And he had 30 saves last year, 2 appearances in the All-Star game as an All-Star. So he's got some accomplishments that can't be overlooked. And of course, we've seen that sort of the trend a little bit now, is that we're seeing relievers being transitioned into starters again. For the longest time, we've seen it the opposite, where great starters became relievers. The most obvious versions and the obvious examples is Dennis Eckersley was a great starter, then he became a Hall of Fame reliever. Then, of course, we've seen John Smoltz go back and forth from being a starter, then to being a closer, then come back to as a starter. So we've seen it go in the reverse. Now we're starting to see it go in the other direction, where you got guys starting who were starters in the minor leagues, and they became relievers, and then they became starters again. Obviously, Seth Lugo is the best example because he got a lot of Cy Young Award votes last year. Nick Martinez was a guy that's a good example. Who's the other guy? There was another guy. Oh, Jordan Hicks. For many, many years with the Cardinals, he was a reliever, 100 miles an hour. Now he's transitioned. He pitched a full season last year for the Giants, and he's a starter in their rotation. So it is a very interesting back and forth and transitioning for pitchers to be able to go back and forth, to be able to start, to be able to relieve, and relieve and to be a starter. So Clay Holmes will be an interesting case. He never quite looked comfortable as a reliever, in my opinion, from what I saw in the years when he was with the Yankees. That's the one thing I did notice when I saw him, that he wasn't quite comfortable as a reliever. He did a very good job. Obviously, the numbers don't, his ERA is excellent as a reliever, excellent in the major leagues. So there's not an issue in terms of what you're going to get out of him as a reliever. So that's what was so interesting about the move that the Mets made for him. Because if it doesn't work out with him in the rotation, maybe next year you put him back in the bullpen, or maybe the year after that you put him back in the bullpen. So he is a very interesting player to look at. I'm just going over a couple of things. Now, what's interesting is to see what his inning limits is going to be for this year. Because obviously he has not pitched in a full season since 2018, 2017. And his minor league numbers, have actually, looking at them, he's won a lot of games in the minor leagues as a pitcher. But his time with the Yankees, let me go through his numbers. So his time with the Yankees, he was 19 and 15. That doesn't mean much. His ERA was 2.69. That's pretty good. 74 saves in his time with the Yankees. 217 and 2/3 innings as a reliever with the Yankees, and 238 strikeouts. But like I said, the walk rate is very high, 4.1 over his career. That goes throughout his whole career. So that's a very high number of walks. So that's something the guy to keep an eye on. The Mets got to manage it much better than they did last year with all these pitchers. The walk rate was very high. And because he's a reliever, and because he's been a reliever in the past, teams are going to push that pitch count very high early in games. So until he's able to fully transition to a full season, that's something as a Mets fan you got to watch out for. It's how he's going to react to long innings, because he hasn't really done that in a very long time. That sort of time management, that sort of the game management is going to be very important for him in particular, and how the Mets make sure that he doesn't blow that arm out. But he's a big, strong guy. I think he's going to do. We'll see how he does. I mean, he's not pitched in a regular rotation in a long time. So, but it's exciting to see this, because you get to see a chance to. He's going to get a chance to be pretty good for the Mets. So, keep our fingers crossed. And I want to thank you for coming by. Please, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut and follow me on all these different places. I'm at everywhere now. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.